One of the most common things that you will see men struggling with these days is approaching.
Hey, how's it going? Where are you going?
But more specifically, communication. And don't get me wrong, this was me for most of my life as well until I worked on this, because it is unbelievable how many men go through their life. They never approach a random woman on the street. They never walk up to her and say, hey, how you doing? What's your name? I like your outfit. Whatever random bullshit that it is, they just don't do this. And this isn't simply just my opinion, this is actual data. They have done research and they have found how few men approach. The actual data says that 45% of men aged 18 to 25 have never approached. And this number is probably a lot more. But men will be too embarrassed to admit that they just don't approach women. So they lie and say,
yeah, sometimes I do this, sometimes I don't.
When really, they don't do this. I know they don't do this because when I leave the house, I never see men approaching, ever. In my 10 years of being an adult and being able to go to bars and clubs, I can count on one hand how many men I've seen walk up to a woman and approach her with the purpose of getting her number and then taking her on a date. And don't get me wrong, this was me through most of my life. Only in the last 5 years did I have the ability to approach because I was scared. My communication skills were awful. In this video, I'm going to teach you exactly how to kill your fear of approach anxiety, whatever you want to call it. And this isn't going to be some wishy-washy bullshit. This will be actual practical advice that you can apply to your life from today. This advice will get you results, but you have to do this. This can't be one of those videos that you just watch and you bookmark or you save for later and you tell yourself, yeah, I'll do this later on. No, you won't. You have to take action immediately. You have to write this down on your phone, set an alarm, set a reminder and go and do this. Otherwise, the time will pass, you'll forget and you'll not do this and your life will continue the same way. Because chances are you've clicked on this video for one reason. You can't approach, you have a fear of rejection, a fear of anxiety, you don't get enough dates and you aren't satisfied with your dating life. Well, I'm going to teach you how to solve this. Now, the biggest issue that guys face when it comes to approaching is that they try to do too much too early on and they basically paralyze themselves into inaction. The thing with approaching is it's like any skill you must build up. And like I mentioned before, it's a communication skill. So why would you expect to be able to go from doing 0 approaches to being able to riz some woman up in the street? It simply is not going to happen. And by doing this and going for the fuck it approach, this actually makes things worse. And this is what I've seen from other coaches who tell their guys,
just do it. Just go and approach her. It's not a big deal.
Okay, amazing advice. But how is that going to help the man who is genuinely scared to approach? Who is paralyzed into the thought of doing this? Because that was me. Somebody could have held a gun to my head and I probably still wouldn't have approached when I was younger. And that's most of you watching this video. So like anything else, we must slowly build this up. It's like when I used to coach guys in the gym. I would never put them on a 6-day plan to begin with. You start with 1 day, then 2 days, then 3 days, and 4 days, and so on. You slowly increase the intensity until one day it becomes the norm. That is how you build effective habits that actually last and stay with you. So one of the first things that we have to do is we have to rewire your brain so that you stop associating the pain of rejection with approaching. Because right now, the reason why you don't do this is because you're scared of an outcome. You're scared if you say the wrong thing, you mess your words up, somebody laughs at you, somebody rejects you, and that fear is what keeps you from being able to do this. So once we rewire your brain, that's what will allow you to start perceiving the approaching as something positive. And don't get me wrong, 100% of the time, you're not going to be ready for the approach. There has still been times when I didn't want to do the approach, but the idea is, once you've rewired your brain and you learn these new skills, you get to a point when even when you don't want to do the approach, you still have the bare minimum skills needed to do this. And then you do this, even when it's a bad day. So how do we actually learn to do this? We do this through a technique that I called flirting with the world. Now, flirting with the world is how it sounds. You flirt with the world around you. And this is exactly how we're going to build you up to be able to start doing approaches. Because I am willing to bet that right now, your issue isn't approaching women. Your issue is communication. Because if I asked you, go and speak to that random man across the street and have a small talk conversation with him and hold that conversation for at least 5 minutes, you are going to run out of things to say. You are not going to know what to say. You're going to get nervous when it comes to the approach. And this is your issue. Because of the modern day world you live in, you became so desensitized to the world around you. So much so that you're isolated. You're on your phone constantly. You're on your computer constantly. You simply don't leave the house enough. I think back to when I was younger, and me and my grandfather, we had this ritual where every few weeks we meet up in town. We go to our local city and we go and get a coffee. We go for a walk, we get some food. And during these meetups, we'd be walking around the city centre. Every other person that we pass, he speaks to. Hey, how's it going? You're looking good. How's your weekend going? Any plans? Small, simple observations. And this would confuse me. And I would think, how does he do this? How is it possible? The thought of this scares me. And then I realise his generation, they never had mobile phones. They never had technology. All they've ever known is interacting with the world. And because of this, speaking with strangers isn't a weird thing. But us guys in the modern day, it's now a weird thing. And we've now lost touch with what it means to be a good communicator. Which is why when it comes to approaching women that we find attractive, that we are pedestalizing, of course we're not going to be able to do this. So the first thing that we do is we become comfortable with speaking with with strangers. Now with the guys that I work with, here's some examples above me here. One of the first objectives that I set is to speak with 2 strangers every single day. Every time you leave the house, you have to speak with a stranger, and at least 2 of those per day. Now this doesn't have to be a woman. This could be the shopkeeper, this could be a waitress, a waiter, a random guy you walk past, and you give them a compliment, or you ask them a question. You say, hey man, I like your shoes. Where are they from? Or you say, how's your day going? To be honest, it really doesn't matter what you say. The point is you're making an effort to flirt with the world. And essentially what we're doing right now is we're building up the mental bandwidth to be able to have those conversations. After a few weeks of doing this, having a conversation with a stranger will now become very normal. So now we get to step number 2. And step number 2 is we turn the intensity up. Now, when we flirt with the world, we start speaking with women we find attractive. And we do the exact same thing. We walk up to her, hey, excuse me, do you have the time? And then you walk off. Hey man, I just want to say you look good today. Have a nice day. And then you walk off. Excuse me, do you know what time the train comes? And then you walk off. You get the idea. Again, we do this for a few weeks, and by the end of this few weeks, the thought of speaking with a stranger, that is a woman you find attractive, is now not a big deal. And you probably start there thinking, yeah, this sounds so simple. How will this work? And that is why it works. But I guarantee that most of you watching this video, you're not going to do what I'm saying. You'll do it for maybe 1 day, 2 days, and then you will give up. And then you'll be surprised why you don't get results. Because the guys that do this, and they follow my word, and they do the basic but necessary steps, these are the guys that get the results. Because this brings us to step number 3. And step number 3 is the final boss. It's the last thing that I ask you to do. So now you spent the last 2 months speaking with strangers, speaking with women that you find attractive. Now what is left is to go in for the kill. Now we speak with women that we find attractive, but the final thing that we do is we ask for some form of contact. So now we ask her, how's your day going? She asks you, how's your day going?
Sorry, what's your name?
Eva. Nice to meet you.
Nice
and
to meet you.
yours?
Kevin.
Kevin. Nice to meet you, Kevin.
You have a bit of a back and forth, and then you say to her, I'm going to be honest, the only reason I came up to you is because I thought you're cute.
I just wanted to come up to you and say that you're absolutely beautiful.
Oh, thanks.
If you're single, you should give me your number and we'll do something sometime.
I was wondering if maybe I could grab your Instagram.
Yeah, of course.
And trust me, if you have been flirting with the world for long enough, this will come across extremely natural. So natural that if she is single, she will have zero hesitation in giving you her number. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to insert a video here of some of my guys and what they had to say about this actual process.
Was probably the best days I've ever been on because of your advice.
I bet you have a bit of a kick in your step now that you've been able to apply some stuff.
I feel mighty. I felt magnificent, and implementing the things you suggested. She was laughing. She told me I'm funny. She was in no hurry to leave. I could really see that your guidance implemented makes all the difference in the world.
Okay guys, there it is. There is your practical advice to kill your fear of rejection. And trust me, if you do this, you will rewire your brain and you will get to a point where approaching becomes easy. Now this is probably far more straightforward than you were ever thinking, because most videos you see on YouTube, the first 10 minutes, you receive no information. It's a load of random waffle that is purely there to increase their video view time. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to get you results. And let's say you watch this video and you're serious about the process of doing this, but you want more information. Well, there's 2 things that you can do. The first thing that I advise you do is you download my free guides in my description. Now, one of these guides is on communication, and this guide will help you begin to flirt with the world. The second option is you book a free strategy call with me where we discuss this topic in depth, and I give you a free game plan moving forward to work through your current dating challenges. Until the next video, guys, I will see you all later.